Lifeboat Live. We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Captain Tommy Scoville, and you were on the lifeboat, and Squirrel approved this message. Glad you're all here. You know what, people? I'm going to make you a promise. My rant tonight will be limited to say half the show, somewhere in there. I'm not going to. I'm not getting ready to go on one of my 1-hour rants, but you know, as we've said so many times in the past, sometimes what's happening in the world collides with what we do. And on those days, it's really kind of difficult to go around that subject. That is one of those things that that comes up from time to time. And we all know that we have talked many times in the past about the fact that the current administration is going to get rid of a rule that allows them to basically send people back to where they came from when they try to come into the country illegally, based on the C+ math epidemic that had been going on. And again, people like to call this the previous administration's ruling. In all honesty, this thing goes back decades, right? Goes back before most of us here were born. But because his name is kind of tied to it, they want to get rid of it. And the statistics were starting to come out about exactly how often they use the ability to deport people based on the fear of spreading you know what, right? The thing that we don't talk about. If you're new to the lifeboat, we don't say the name of that pandemic because it gets your video buried. And, you know, we don't want that to happen if we can avoid that, obviously. So, sorry, I'm just trying to turn off any sound here. Okay. And they started talking about how often they actually turn somebody around and send them back south of the border using that clause. In the last batch of numbers, there were 394,000 people that came across into the US. And during that period of time, 94,000 of them were turned around and sent back to the Mexican, you know, the southern half of our border, sent back to Mexico because of the protection clause for C+ math. So if you're doing math, that means 200,000 of them entered the country, right? 100,000 of them did not and were sent back. In a couple of weeks, that's coming to an end. So it would have been 300,000. Now, those are people that we know about. And this is where stuff is starting to get really murky. If you've, one of the things that happens when people get arrested, if you threaten someone with an awful lot of time, right, they usually start singing, right? And by that, I mean, they're willing to tell you exactly what they're doing illegally. They're willing to tell you everyone that is doing something illegal with them. And they go a little bit further and usually will turn in sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, anybody. They'll make stuff up if necessary. They're going to tell you everything you want to hear. Very oftentimes, because they're so afraid of doing a lot of time, the authorities basically have to hit them with a phone book to get them to stop talking. And they have basically been able to flip a few people, and they're getting a better idea of the game plan that the cartels are using as a way to get primarily fentanyl, but all kinds of really heavy, ugly synthetic opiates, the stuff that's killing more than 300 people a day in this country. And what they're doing is this, and this should not come as a wild shock to anybody, but what they're doing is they're using human smuggling as a way to get drugs into the U.S. Now, most people would say, duh, right? Of course they're using, no. What they're doing is they're smuggling people with the intent of the people getting caught. And they're doing it in certain regions where they know they can overwhelm border and customs. So you send 400 or 500 people across the border, knowing full well that they're all going to get processed, right? That takes a lot of manpower to process through all of those people. And they're going to keep bombarding that one section until they tie up basically all of the manpower that we have at that particular border crossing, so that all of these agents are tied up. And then the people smuggling the drugs make their run. And it's staggering, people, how much of this crap is getting into the country. The last time we did one of these shows, I talked about how one drug seizure netted them 10 million fake perk 30s, right? 10 million of them. People, there's 330 million people in the United States. If you take and you say, well, you know what? Chances are infants to say 12 years old, they're not going to be taking any of those. So let's take them out of the equation. And the ultra aged, people say 75 and up, they're probably not in that game either. So if you just take out the top and you take out the bottom, and then you say, well, and the people incarcerated probably are not in that mix. So let's remove all of those. When you start paring down the numbers, just that one bust is enough to kill so many people in this country. And if you've been watching the show for any length of time, you know that a crew member on the boat called me after smoking 2 hits off of one of those bootleg pills, and it almost killed her. It required her to do multiple bottles of the nasal, Narcan, to the point that it's not getting done on one dose. Had she only had one of those, that would have been the end of it. That would have been the end of it. And that, people, is an absolute crying shame. It really is. It's a situation that, it's been so bad for so long. And Mark and I, thank you, my brother. And Mark and I have been beating the drum like there's no tomorrow about this for what, Mark, 4 or 5 months, right? I mean, this started a long time ago.
100, yeah.
But we haven't scratched the surface. We talk very often on the show about leading indicators, right? Those are things that, a perfect example of, okay, the leading indicator is one of those things that, take gasoline. If the price of oil tomorrow goes to $200 a barrel, it's going to do ridiculous things to the price of gasoline, but it's not going to happen tomorrow, right? It's going to take a long time, because that $200 a barrel gasoline now has to be purchased, and it has to be refined, and it might take a month, it might take 40 days, whatever, until The gasoline at the pump started out at $200 oil. So there are leading indicators. There are things that happen ahead of time that, sort of give you an idea. And I'm telling you that the 300 to 400 overdose deaths a day that we're seeing in this country, that's a leading indicator, people. That's not we're not in the thick of this by any stretch of the imagination. We're not in the thick of this. The overdoses that you're seeing right now with phytonitazine and isonitazines and all of these other, the Frankenstein that we did a show on, all of these other drugs where they're taking synthetics and pressing them into pills that are killing people, that's the leading indicator. What that's doing is telling us that the stuff is here and it's going to get distributed further and further out. We're going to see this start to leave the cities that we expect to see these overdoses in. I'm not busting on any of these cities, but let's keep it real. We see it in Ohio, right? We see it in Seattle. We see it in Chicago. There are certain cities that we always seem to see the overdoses first. Ohio being huge for whatever reason. It's one of those cities. But coming to a city near you or a town near you, these things are coming, people. And the problem gets compounded by the fact that we've said many times before, the fentanyl is about 35% less cost for the people who are selling it. So the profit margin is at a base minimum 35% more. Then what happens is something like NITS comes along and it has a larger profit margin and it takes less of it to smuggle into the country. Every time you take one of these substances and say, well, this is 10 times stronger than heroin, you might want to think of it in terms of I can smuggle 10 times a smaller amount and make the same kind of money. Well, if NITs are 5 to 15 times stronger than fentanyl, where do you think they're going to go? What are they going to smuggle? They're going to smuggle the smallest amount of product and the largest amount of payout. So the phytonitazines, that is really the leading indicator. I mean, that's where we're going. And herein lies the problem. So you got guys with pill presses that are cranking out these pills, right, that say 30 on them. Now, for the last year or two, people have been getting accustomed to these fake bootleg Perk 30s. You understand where I'm going with this? They have been getting accustomed. Their body has been building up tolerances to it. They're building really vicious habits of fentanyl. Now, doesn't mean that if they get a really strong pill, it isn't going to kill them, because we know every day that that's happening. But what do you think is going to happen when they're not bringing all of that fentanyl across? Instead, they're bringing iso or phytonitazines across instead. Where do you think that crap is going to end up? Do you think they're going to say when they sell this, hey, I know this looks exactly like the same crap that I've been selling you for 8 months, but this pill is going to be 5 to 10 times stronger? No one's having that conversation, people. That conversation is never going to take place. You understand that? There's nobody out there that is representing this stuff as what it is, right? They're representing this stuff as Perk 30s. I'm sure that, most people who are buying it realize that they aren't, right? The first time you smoke this, swallow it, snort it, whatever you're doing with it, it should be brutally obvious that the substance that you're doing, ain't a Percocet. But anyway, when they start going to the stronger product, what do you think is going to happen with these deaths? They're going to go through the roof, people. So, as I have said so many times in the past, right here, seventh son, right? My hat is off to you, my brother, and to everybody else that has been reaching out to the elected officials and being a pain in the ass. God bless you, because the fact that this stuff is on the news, you hear people all the time saying, well, it's on the news now because it's reached such a level that, no, it's been at that level. I promise you it's been at that level. It's reaching the news now because we're approaching a midterm election. So all of these people have to BS that they're going to do something about your relative that died. I'm sorry. That's really what we're looking at, right? it has gotten to the point where they get enough phone calls, they get enough letters, they get enough emails, and the numbers of deaths are big enough. Everybody knows somebody. I got three text messages. I could hold up the phone and let you read them today of people who said so-and-so just overdosed and died. Only 2 of them were deaths, thank God.
Jeff was talking a minute ago, Tommy, about a 15-year-old that overdosed and died. So yeah.
Jeffrey Canale?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yep. That's probably right here.
Is it?
Because Jeff and I live in the same city. I think he's probably the only other person on the lifeboat currently that is in the same city as me. But there was also somebody on the boat sent me an article about a boyfriend and girlfriend who were in high school and had a struggle on and off with opiates and had come clean to the parents and talked about it or whatever, and apparently had been doing well, had managed to break away from it for a while. Now, you hear this all the time. Whether it's the truth or not is irrelevant, but the story is that this was a relapse. Like they had decided that they had been sober for long enough a period of time, and they were just going to do a couple of pills. And obviously the batch was something else because it killed them both. And I got, one of the 2 emails I got was someone that said my wife's uncle overdosed and died on fentanyl last night. One said that the person is still in the hospital and they're not dead, but they have not regained consciousness. Now, there are times that the hospital does that. There are times that the hospital will actually keep somebody knocked out. And the purpose for that often, believe it or not, is to do rapid opiate detox on people while they're out. While you're in a chemical induced coma, they can flood you with Narcan and get all of that stuff out of your system. And if they keep you drugged for about 3 more days, when you wake up, in theory, you shouldn't have a habit. So I don't know the full extent. I'm hoping and praying that that's what's going on with this individual. And it's not a matter of their brain no longer working, because people, when we talk about the number of people that die, we're not talking about the number of people who are brain dead or the number of people who are alive but are never the same. M. Hunt says, Captain, I forgot to mention a cousin of mine in Pennsylvania died from an overdose last month. And I am so sorry, Hunt, really, and people, we could do this every single day for the rest of the time that we're on the lifeboat. And until we do something, someone's going to say, yeah, I know somebody. Yeah, I know somebody. Yeah, I know somebody. It's it really has gotten to the point where it's staggering. As we did on the last show, and I didn't, we didn't go down the rabbit hole like I sometimes do, but we started to talk about the statistics. And when you look at the overdose deaths from other drugs, right, they only make up normally 4 or 5% of overdose deaths are something other than, right, than an opiate or something along those lines where, people are injecting whatever. It's usually never a stimulant. You don't see a whole lot of overdose deaths off of things like speed or coke. They happen, but in such small numbers that they're almost, they're not a factor normally. They're through the roof, people. Yeah. The number of overdose deaths from stimulants is now making up 15%.
Doesn't it like explode your heart when that happens? Ain't that?
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. It's rare. It really is. It happens more with cocaine than it does with methamphetamine, but it is rare. Usually the body has a way of shutting you down. When the heart starts racing to the point where it's going to explode, you'll pass out. The body will basically turn your computer off for a little while. And I've watched it. I've seen it happen so many times. People that do speedballs, you see it a lot. They put, too much in. The term usually is the bell ringer. The person does one and instantly starts doing this one, and you can see it. And it almost looks like they're kidding because everything in their body just sort of, goes into that melt mode.
That's something we don't talk about a whole lot, and I don't even know enough about that.
No, well, you're right. It probably gets widely ignored. And one of the reasons is that it's been a drug that has been on the decline for a very long time, but it isn't anymore. It's really starting to see a resurgence in popularity. And if you do a little research on it, they'll tell you that there are people out there right now No problem, Lewis. There are people out there right now who have been addicted to cocaine for, say, a year, 2 years, whatever the case may be, who have never done cocaine.
Yeah.
Because there is so much stuff coming in right now that is a designer knockoff of the substance that these people have a absolute full-blown coke addiction, and what they're doing has never ever seen a coca leaf. It has nothing to do with how that stuff is normally refined and turned into a snortable, smokable, or shootable powder. These are basically like a bathtub version of it that is made in where. Right?
The beast from the east. Right? Yep.
Right? From the people who brought you everything else.
Yeah.
They're bringing you that too. But, that is another thing that, once again, people, when you're not getting something out of the ground, when you come up with somebody who has a recipe for what you used to grow, think about it. Just forget drugs, forget all of that. Let's just look at economics 101. If you're making that substance, it is in your best interest to make this as strong as that. Because as you start to have to worry about getting it across the border, you can say, well, if I bring 20 of these across the border, I can turn it into, whatever we need to when we get to the other side. The trouble with that is it is a very, very inexact science. And we've talked about this so many times. These substances do not like getting evenly distributed. They tend to clump, they tend to concentrate, and you get what's called hot spots, or you get, all kinds of things that it's a recipe for death is what it is. And yeah, so people, but wrapping this up, because there's a lot I want to talk about today, right? So wrapping this up, this isn't just doom and gloom. I'm not just here to crap on politics or do any of that. I'm here to say, if we can't stop this from happening, and you know what? I don't think we can. I don't. The government's going to do what the government's going to do. And then let the pundits and the political people argue about that until the end of time. But I know 4 people I'm related to who are under the age of 30. And you know what? If one of them dies, it's going to be my fault. That literally is how I'm looking at this, because I am going to haunt them. I am going to be the biggest thorn in their side. I'm going to piss them off. I'm already doing it. You know what I mean? They're going to have to hear this speech 2 or 3 times a week from me. Every time somebody overdoses and it makes the newspaper, or every time there's a story about it, I call each and every one of them. This is what I'm talking about. You get this, right? You get this. This is what I'm talking about. And I had a conversation with a relative of mine who said to me, look, I honestly don't even do this stuff. I blow a little weed every once in a while. That's all that I do. And they're in a state that it's legal. So, but anyway, this person said to me, but I was at a party the other night and people were taking pills, and I made a big speech, and I said, oh, nice. And she proceeded to say, I don't think anybody listened to it at all, but I did tell them, that those things could be killing them. You know what? She didn't do it. And that's really what the mission is, right? Whether or not I can stop this stuff from getting in here, or whether or not enough people are gonna hear about this that they're not going to, I'm not going to let it happen to my family. I'm not going to let it happen to my friends. And if it does, it's not going to be because I didn't tell them 16 times everything that they needed to know about this. That's all that I can do. So my admonition for everybody on the boat would be, ask yourself, what can I do? Is there anything that I can do? And if all that is talking to your kid, then please do that, and do it often. And if there's, nieces, nephews, anything, if your loved one, your significant other, anybody is someone that occasionally just buys a handful of pills or whatever, man, don't find yourself in a situation where you say, I knew about this stuff and I never talked to them. That's a difficult thing to live with. Don't let that happen. Ask yourself what you can do. And if all you can do is talk to the people you care about, great. Again, seventh son, you're my hero. You always will be. That is, and for those of you who don't know, this is a man that wrote hundreds of letters to politicians about this subject and became an epic pain in the backside, right? Yep. To so many different people within the government,
And I would say this real quick too, that guys, all we can hope really, just to be 100 and just be what we talk about here, is we can do our best to slow it down. That's about where we're at, right? And how do we slow it down? Well, it's by making what Tommy just said. You got to start here with your family, with your friends. You know, how much would you guys regret, having somebody pass away and you just didn't want to have that conversation with somebody because it was going to be hard and you could have helped? At some point.
Sorry, Lewis. Good luck on that job interview. I'm really sorry, Lewis. No, good night and good luck on that job interview. Kill it, my friend. You got this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't want him to get off without me saying that.
No, for sure. But yeah, I kind of forgot what I was talking about now.
I'm sorry.
No, dude, I'm squirreling a little bit anyway. But no, I do think that and I know we talked about this too. I had a doctor here where I live, and she lives just northern Indiana, and 5 kids passed away from smoking weed because it was laced with this stuff. So it ain't, and Tommy briefly mentioned, which is, we're not going to get into this tonight, that the states that it's legal in, that's the only thing that helps that, right? If you're not buying it off the street, at least it's regulated, that kind of thing. But we're not going to get into that conversation. But I want people to understand that it's not just one drug that they're doing this. And you said it earlier, it's all drugs. And how do we stop it? Well, at some point, you have to, especially if you are a uncle, like Tommy is, and a father. All of us love somebody. So quit trying to be a friend and be who you need to be and be a true friend and uncle, family, dad, mom, and have that conversation. Because they're never, ever going to forgive you if they can't breathe. So, just saying.
Jeffrey Ganelli says, I couldn't afford a drug problem with today's gas prices. I couldn't afford a gas problem with today's gas prices. No, you're right. There is something to that. But people, it's not a fun subject. It's not. And we realize that. But you know something? This is a fun subject. And this is a big deal. And I'm going to tell you a quick story, right? Because I think it really is kind of pertinent. I have said many times that I struggled in school, right? I'm not stupid, not a stupid guy. I had some issues, and they're issues that a lot of people have. I used to transpose certain things, right? To kind of a form of dyslexia. Like I would, the number 365 could be 563. It could be any combination of those. And it really was a struggle for me. And it also, made the written word tough. So I overcompensated. And I think a lot of people do this. And I overcompensated. I figured, you know what, if I didn't have to write it down, but I could speak it, right? I was just going to make sure that I did that better than people. And I really sort of used it as a way to kind of get through school. I worked at it. And it was something that, has served me well my entire life. And the older I got, the more in control I got of once you kind of understand what your learning challenges are, you can overcome them. But as a kid, I just thought, you think stupid thoughts. You think, well, I'm not smart or I'm not this. And as you get older, you just realize that, just like in everything else in humanity, I'm built differently than the next guy, and the next guy's built differently than me. But during that process of kind of working on vocab and things like that, the first opportunity I ever had as a public speaker was at a 7th grade graduation. They asked me if I would be willing to make a speech. And I remember going home and telling my mother, I'm like, I'm not doing that. And, there's no way, like there's going to be, and I lived in a very small town, people, a really small town. So, I said, there's going to be like, 50, 100 people there, which was half the town, and I remember the talk that I got with my mother, who said to me, you really need to do this. Like, this is something that you really, really need to do. And I remember it being terrifying, for about the first 40 seconds. And then after I started to roll into it, I remember thinking, you know what, this is fun. Like there was that moment that it went from, scary to scary fun, almost like a roller coaster kind of fun. You know what I mean? And it changed my life. And I'll tell you why I'm telling you this, because I know someone who just made a speech at a graduation. And when his dad told me about this, I was like, holy heck, this is literally my, I followed this story like this. This is just what happened to me, except I was probably, a little bit more challenged in terms of the education. But at the same age, we went and did a speech, and I am beyond belief proud of this gentleman, because I remember what it took to get up that first time. And I just want to say to Terry, this would be DJ Daddy-O's boy, young man really, but his son. Terry, continue to do what you do. I promise you, it's going to sound crazy, right? But the number one fear on the planet, what more people on this planet are afraid of than anything else, is what you just did. Doesn't that sound nuts? But it's a stone cold fact. The number one fear listed by all people on the planet as an average is having to stand up and speak in front of other people. And when you can overcome that, and doing it at the age you're doing it at, that will change the rest of your life. The more comfortable you get with that, I am so proud of you, man. And the fact that you said yes, the fact that I had said yes way back then, I had a little push from my mom, and I'm glad that I did. And I don't know if your dad pushed you or not. I really don't. But if he did, God bless you too, because that's just really, hey, Terry, good to see you. Thank you, man. I'm proud of you, my man. I really am. I can't tell you. When your dad told me that you were doing this, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It was one of those really weird moments, because, again, someday you'll get old. Be a long time from now, but someday you'll get old, and something will happen, and you'll go, oh man, that happened to me at the exact same age, and it will just, instantly I was back at the Bridgewater Village School, standing there and making that speech. And by the way, I heard that you killed it. That was a direct quote. I heard you did an amazing job and that you killed it. So we're really proud of you. God bless you, man. Yes. Keep doing what you're doing. Super proud of you, Terry.
Good job, brother.
To your dad as well. DJ Daddy-O is, something, people, the ability to take it back full circle. You know what I'm talking about? When you're that kind of involved in the life of your kids, really good things happen. So DJ Daddy-O, proud of you, man. Really, really proud of you. And for your boy, good stuff. In fact, you know what?
And I would say this too, Tommy, real quick, that,
please.
DJ Daddy-O probably would not have been that person years ago when he was doing his thing.
No, probably not. And you know what? We haven't pulled this bad boy out in a very long time, but this is for you, my man. This is the official lifeboat participation trophy.
Yep.
Right. And really proud of you, man. Good stuff. Really, really good stuff. All right, people. Now we did the part that wasn't all that much fun, and we've done the part that was really a lot of fun. And now what I really want to do is kind of open things up and talk to the crew. But before I do, I think this might spark a little bit of conversation, because I want to tell you something that's coming up. And my bobbleheaded partner will be hearing this for the first time as well, because we jumped on this one quick. He runs a huge channel aside from this one. If you've never been over there, he's got a very, very large channel that does space weather. And I mean, like 4 seconds before he was doing this show, he was doing that show. So we didn't get our normal sit there and shoot the bull section before we got rolling. But I have recently crossed paths with somebody whose story is, it's amazing. It really is. And when you're going to get a chance to meet this person, I have not spoken directly to this girl, but there's a mutual friend that we both are very, very fond of. And I spoke to him, and I wanted to have her on the show so that she could tell a little bit of her story. And it was amazing, because as I kind of was bringing up that possibility, he already had an entire speech made ready to hit me with, because he wants very badly for her story to come out on the lifeboat. And I'm not going to, I don't want to steal any of the thunder, but I'm going to tell you enough of this so that you don't miss it, because this is pretty heavy stuff. This individual, while intoxicated, had a car accident. She was behind the wheel. Beautiful young woman. And thank God, nobody that she hit died. But the people that she hit were injured, and pretty well. So there has been a sort of a long process going on for, she has never gone, been incarcerated for this. And this actually happened some years ago. But the way that the laws work and such, that incarceration is coming. There's no way around it. And the incredible thing is that this person is so rehabilitated is beyond belief, right? And it's just one of those quirks of our legal system that, and when you hear the entire story, it's one of those things that it's not like she was driving 75 miles an hour in the wrong lane. You'll hear the story, but truthfully, the other party is the party at fault. But if you got a couple of drinks in you, none of that matters, right? And again, that's not, if you think I just stole the thunder, wait till you hear the story. But that's going to be, I'm going to be announcing, I think tomorrow, I will announce exactly when this is going to go on. I don't believe for a hot second that we can get it done in one show. I'm not sure we can get it done in 2 shows, honestly, because I think that there's just really an awful lot to tell in this story. The story itself, and then there's a fairly astounding amount of inspiration. Can you imagine living your life knowing that, well, on such and such a date, I'm going away
For a long time, probably.
for a long time, and just being out there and being positive and bringing a positive message to people and trying to help people and just living that life with the sword of Damocles kind of hanging over your head, and knowing, what date that's going to be. When you get an opportunity to meet this girl, there is just, when I heard that that's what was coming, I almost had a heart attack, because there's just so much positive energy, and I know what it's like, and to have that, I don't know. Like I said, it could be 3 shows. Good Lord, it could be 4 or 5. Depending on how much she's willing to give us, because her days are numbered. I would imagine she'd like to get as much done as she can before that day. But really an amazing little series that's going to be coming up. Hopefully, I would say within 7 days, this will be underway. I'd love it if we could get it started in 2 or 3 days from now, but that's going to be up to her. But that's what is coming, right? And it's pretty heavy stuff. It really is. It's going to be. Even you saying that, Tommy. Just right off the bat, I think we're going to have to understand that this is like looming over this person right now, but she still wants to come do this. Right?
What kind of person, and how far in a recovery aspect is this person? Because that is a very, very strong person.
Isn't that not amazing?
I got goosebumps when you were telling me about it, because it was just like.
Well, and here's the crazy thing, people. Like, I wrestled with this for 2 or 3 days, because I thought, as the captain of the lifeboat, this would be the greatest interview. This is really a great subject, and this is really powerful. But what kind of dirtbag do I have to be to ask somebody to come on here and tell their story? For real, like that's, yeah. And I wrestled with that. I really did. I thought, boy, and I was going to frame it in such a way to say, I know that this is going to really be hard, but think of the people you could help. And when I was talking to our mutual friend, I said, I was hoping to talk to so-and-so, and I don't know if I'm chances are she wants her name out there, but I'm not going to say it just in case. But I said, I was hoping to talk to so-and-so and maybe getting a chance. And he goes, oh yeah, the 2 of us were talking about it. I think she'd love to do the show. And, I really wish that it had happened a little bit quicker, like I had thought, but I wrestled with it for a couple of days. Jeffrey Canale said, had that exact same thing happen to a friend of mine in Las Vegas. he was driving 125 miles an hour and hit a ditch, and his passenger didn't make it. It really is it's one of those things that never ceases to just amaze me. How quickly things can go from the world, in front of you and everything groovy and, life is grand, to your life is never going to be the same in a split second.
Yep.
And, sometimes it's as, honestly, and like with anything, it's chaos theory. You can keep tracking it back and tracking it back and tracking it back. I don't care how far back you want to go, but when those keys went in that ignition, it's sealed or fade. And I think that one of those things that I would really, I hope that this gets across when we do the interviews is, what? Take a freaking cab,
Yeah, no.
Preferably you're not even going down those roads, but if you find yourself that way, walk home, sit on the sidewalk until the sun comes up.
It's a good thing too, Tommy, that I think the conversation of how we talk to our kids matters. It follows into this because I share here a lot. My son is 26 years old. If he gets intoxicated and he's somewhere he don't need to be driving, who's he call? He calls me. You want to know why? Because I don't ask questions. I just want to make sure he's safe. And he's not like alcoholic or anything like that. But I was able to build that relationship. And I'm not saying anything about anybody else's situation. I'm just saying that this is part of our society. And, just much like with the border thing, and our kids dying and all this and our loved ones, we can't just sit back with our tail between our legs and not say nothing. The time for that is over.
Yep.
Honestly, go out and save your family. And like we talk about here, we choose our family, right?
Yeah.
Let's just go choose them. Let's go get
them. But I love that you brought that up, and I hope that everybody, I really hope everybody heard that. That was something that when my son, when Spanx was a kid, he's a grown man now, but I remember when he was getting up into that age, and I sat down and we had that conversation. I said, if you find yourself at a party and you've been drinking and you're the driver, or the guy that you're with has been drinking, you can make a phone call to me. And the one thing that you got to know is I'm not going to give you a lick of crap. Now, we may have a conversation at a later date, right? But your get out of jail free card is the fact that you called me. You're not going to, and I remember the first time he called me. I really do. And here's the crazy thing. I was about 1,400 miles away from my son when he called me. For real. But he was afraid that his mother was going to have a heart attack. So I said to him, stay right where you are, right? In the age of computers, I was like, I'm going to get a taxi cab. And while you're in the cab on the way home, I'm going to be calling your mother and having a very long conversation with her because I want her to hold up my end of the deal as well.
I think it's important to build that level of trust with your kids, guys. Because if
Terry, I am glad. Terry says, this is my first time on the boat. My dad told me to watch and I am enjoying it. I'm glad that you're here, Terry. I really am.
Yep.
Really, I am glad. And we love your dad. Your dad is one of the founding crew here on the lifeboat. That's and right. A guy I consider a close personal friend. So your dad's a great guy.
Yes.
Excellent.
100, man. 100.
But yeah, people, have that conversation with your kids. As parents, it's a fine line as it, in everything else in life. But, you don't want to be so cool that you're cracking a six-pack with your kid. But you also don't want to be so militant about certain things that they think I'd rather risk driving home than have dad scream at me and ground me and do all of that stuff. You know what? We can work on all of that at a later date. But, you give me a call and I promise you got nothing to worry about. I will be high-fiving you,
It's important to follow through with what you say too, guys.
Absolutely.
If you say it, be ready to do it because it will happen. And if you don't do it one time, guess what? They never
the next time they'll drive. The next time they will drive.
Yep.
I've said this so many times in the past, when we were doing the ounce prevention series, whether we realize it or not, we train our kids. And, like we used to talk about when you talk to your kids about drugs, if you say, do you know any kids that, any of your friends getting high? And they go, yeah, Danny does. You can never see Danny again. I mean, you're literally just saying to your kid, I can't handle the truth. Don't tell me. because I'm going to freak out, and you're training your kid to do just that. And the next time you say, anybody that he's going, I'm not going to tell him that. I mean, he jumped down my throat last time. Said I couldn't hang out with the guy. I mean, yeah, and you can still be a parent. You can go, really? Oh man, what a bummer. I thought Danny had more on the ball. That kind of bums me out. I mean, you can still play the mom or the dad role, but yeah, I don't know. You have to. Yeah,
I think if you extend them a little bit more respect, because when we're parents or what have you, a person of a mentor of such, I guess you could say, we oftentimes think that, we're talking down to them, right? And you don't want that to be the case. Just let them come in and tell you what they need to by sitting back and not saying as much as you think you need to. Let them talk and then react to what they say and do your best, because this is hard to do. And that's just to be like, because, when your kid comes up and tells you, hey, I just went over here and did this, that, and the third, your first reaction is, oh my God, you did what? I didn't raise you to be like that. How many times have we heard that, right? Don't do that. It doesn't help. Talk to them. There can still be consequences for what they do, but you can do it in a respectful way. And
sure.
And if you do it that way, guys, they're going to respect you because they're watching you when you don't even think they are.
Yeah, believe that.
And us as
Rip, good to see you.
For sure.
Sorry.
And us as addicts and alcoholics, they seen the worst in us, right? So we were teaching them the wrong thing that whole time. And now, you got to build that relationship back up. And the way to do that, like we talked here a lot, is by example. You just got to follow through with what you say. Don't say it unless you mean it.
Yep.
Because it'll do more harm than good. You're just going to say it and not follow through with it.
Good to see you, Rip Curl Readiness. I'm glad that you're here. And Jesse, Jesse Brown says, no matter how dark life might seem to be around you, there is always a way out and a way toward the light that can set you on a better path. Amen, brother.
Right on.
Seriously,
good to see you, Ripper.
Absolutely beautiful.
Good to see you, Ripper.
If that doesn't sum up the boat. I'm sorry, Mark. What?
Oh, no, I was just saying hi to Rip. Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in like that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, Rip, good to see you, man. We were talking about you yesterday, weren't we? I think we were talking about the interview that we did with you here, and we talk about that often. See you, Rip. We love you.
You guys haven't checked that out. Go back and watch Rip's couple interviews he did with us. I think we got one more coming up with him here. We got to get scheduled and get that thing going on too.
That will be number 4, won't it?
Is it 4 or 3?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, something. Guys, things run. Yeah.
Boy, do they!
Oh man,
boy, do they! They tend to start.
That's a good thing, though.
It is, right? It says that we've been here a hot minute. Today is the 19th. Yeah, so we're rapidly approaching that that 10-month mark.
Guys, I want to talk about something just a little, I guess, housekeeping type of thing just for a second.
Sure.
Just like, I know it's easy to forget because I do it myself. I went back and watched our videos and I forgot to click the like button. When I look down at him, it's like, man, did I forget? I know we forget. And Chris from Kiss Freak, is how you guys would know him. He's one of my favorite Canucks. He usually reminds everybody, and I think he did earlier. But I'm going to remind you too, because it does help. Sharing the stream at the beginning is really, really easy. Hit the share button, and you can just post it to your YouTube channel, or it'll take you right to Facebook from there. And you just type it in real quick and let it fly. And you don't even have to leave the stream, is what I'm saying. And so if you guys could do that for us, it's going to help the boat grow. Because
it really does.
If we can hit that algorithm just a little bit, it really does push us out. And me and Tommy see the analytics, so we look at that kind of stuff just to see if we're making mistakes or whatever. And that's one of the things that I've been noticing, that the likes. If you don't like it, okay, give us a dislike.
Right.
Give us a dislike. I mean, something, right? Because it does help. So, just want to say that. I'm sorry. I know that wasn't.
No, and here's the thing. You know what, people? And by design, literally by design. But If you watch a YouTube channel, you will never see a channel that says less. Hey, do me a favor, hit the like button, right, and leave a comment. And that we talked about this in the very beginning. We kind of went through the things that, because there's certain things that it doesn't matter what channel you're on. Every single channel does the same thing. I mean, there really is, right? We joke about it. They're all, hey, it's not really like an audience, it's like a family. All right, every single channel says that. And I'm not mad at them, because very often that can be the truth. It certainly is here. But there are certain things that every single channel does. And one is, right, hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe and that like button, right? Make sure that you subscribe. And by hitting the bell for notification, you're going to get that. And we just, decided early on that we weren't going to bang that drum on every single video, because we kind of wanted to not stand out for that, or maybe stand out for not doing that, or whatever it was. But there was actually a conversation about it.
Yes.
So it's rare that we do that housekeeping thing, but I would say in the 480 videos, we've probably done it 3 times.
Yeah.
So now that we have tonight, I will say it. I do appreciate the comments. I really do. And I try to answer every one of them. Sometimes, one might slip through the crack, but I literally try to answer every comment. And boy, in the beginning, Mark can attest, there was a point at which I had answered 15 or 18,000 comments.
It's crazy.
This was at month 6. In the beginning, before we went live, it was just it was overwhelming.
And there's a reason why we decided not to talk about the like, share, subscribe, or any of that kind of stuff on an every video basis, because now when we say it, guess what? We don't normally say it, so you're actually listening to what I'm saying.
Right. It does get people's attention.
It really does.
I saw that Joanna, typed in, you all never say that.
Yeah, we don't.
It really is one of those things that we've made a conscious decision not to. And, we've got Kiss Freak, for who never fails to say, hey, Hulk, smash that like button. Well, Charlie Mullins, all of you all. I mean, seriously, a lot of you guys do that for us, which is great. It really is. We appreciate that.
Well, I mean, in the chat, that's what that's for. It's what moderators are supposed to do, right? And, if we're out here just screaming it on the video, somebody just kind of breezing by is like, oh, that's just, par for the course. They're just trying to.
Right, exactly. Saw that coming.
Yeah.
Looks like Flamin' Jackson is already calling for the cat in the basket.
Yes.
Jackson, you're 4 minutes early.
Yep.
She hasn't even showed up for work yet. What you guys don't realize is that with 30 seconds left to spare, she jumps into the basket and does the I'm asleep thing. Yep. She's usually out, raising cane somewhere in another part of the house. No, actually, Mark can attest to this. When I put the hat on.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Like Squirrel, literally, I put the hat on. Yeah. There's been so many times where right as we're talking, she jumps up and, gets in the basket while we're having our conversation before we go live. She literally, 21 squirrel salute I got. That's funny. But she does, the cat knows her job. And, we've joked in the past about who's training who. When the video is over, right, I go and I, get the back office thing and do all of the stuff that I have to do, to set up. And then the second I'm done with that, she runs to her little pedestal where there's one spot in the house, the only place she gets treats. So she knows that when this show is over, it's like, all right, payday. You know what I mean? I just put up with you parade me around in a basket.
Yep.
It's time to hook me up with some cat treats. So
it definitely is.
Squirrel has trained me well.
And that's this is something that we don't always have to be like Mr. Serious, right? I mean, we gotta throw in some fun sometimes, guys. It's just part, and like we used to say this a lot too. We don't necessarily. We really want people to live their best life, right? Yeah. I know we focus on the addiction and the alcoholism, but understand, living life white knuckled, and that's something that Tommy has said since the beginning, and I just thought it was one of the best, terms to use. You don't want to white knuckle through life, guys. So we got to find a way to be happy, and that's really what it is. And we're trying to show people the way to go in an area that you don't have to turn to a chemical to achieve that.
Amen.
And that's kind of what we're doing. And because I know we say this a lot too. There is no other channel on the net right now that does this. And, you know, I know that there's recovery channels, but you're going to get an edited video. That's what you're going to get. And it almost feels
And
like
you will not get a cat in a basket.
100. And it's almost like anybody that's ever started a new job, you see those training videos. That's what it reminds me of, like an orientation video. And and that's something we've been able to avoid. So anyway, I love you guys.
No question. And you know what? That does bring us to the top of the hour. So now Jackson can start doing the 21 squirrel salute. People, we do love you. Sorry about the rant. Sorry, but not sorry. It just has to happen. And you know, people, you can do something. If it's one person in your life that you could talk to about this, you are in the know. Right? There are people out there that aren't. You are in the know. The way that these people are overdosing, literally at this point, like 8 out of 10 of them are getting a little pill with a 30 on it. Like that's the death sentence now. So just beat that drum. Tell everybody that you care about, because it's that important, right? There's nothing more important than continuing to breathe. That's a big deal. So let's make that happen. Another shout out one more time to Terry. Good job, bud. We're proud of you. And thank you for stopping by the lifeboat so we could tell you that. Love you, Dad. We're happy you're here. People, we'll be back 23 hours from right now, right here. Same bad channel. We're going to be doing the same bad thing. And between now and then, you got 23 hours to reach out and to try to save somebody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And this, people, is a very cute cat in a basket. Say goodnight, squirrel. Yeah, she's not having it. We love you, everybody.